They found the boy crying at 2 a.m., his small hands pressed against the window glass like he was trying to escape his own body. 9 years old, wheelchair-bound, muscular dystrophy stealing him piece by piece while his mother stood in the doorway, helpless, watching her baby disappear into a disease that had no mercy. That same night, 60 miles away in a concrete kennel, a three-legged pit bull named Charlie slammed his body against the back wall when footsteps approached. Amber eyes wide with terror, scars covering his body like a roadmap of every time a human hand had chosen violence over love. He had 2 weeks left before the shelter's capacity problem made him a statistic. The world had written them both off. One too sick, one too broken. But what happened when a dying boy's mother found a photo of that three-legged dog on a shelter website at 2 a.m.? Tears spotting the paper, her hands shaking as she whispered a desperate prayer. Nobody could have predicted. Because sometimes God answers prayers by introducing two souls the world has abandoned and watching them teach each other the one thing everyone said was impossible: how to hope again. Ethan's wheelchair sat by the window every afternoon, where pale sunlight couldn't quite reach the shadows pooling around him. 9 years old, and he'd already mastered the art of disappearing. His muscular dystrophy stealing strength one muscle at a time, his body waging war against itself while classmates ran across playgrounds he'd never touch again. Tommy's birthday party invitation got lost in the mail last month, right after his mom whispered to another parent that it was too complicated having a dying kid around. The neighborhood bikes rode past his house now, their wheels spinning freedom his legs would never remember. And Ethan had stopped asking when the pain would end because the silence hurt less than false hope. His mother found him crying that Tuesday night, his comic books gathering dust on shelves he couldn't reach anymore, his fingers tracing the cold glass like he was trying to touch a world that had locked him out. The doctor's words echoed in her skull. Progressive deterioration. Prepare yourselves. Months, not years. She'd held him through screaming nights when his legs cramped so badly he begged her to cut them off. Please, Mama, just make it stop. And she'd never felt more powerless. Her baby was drowning in his own body, and she couldn't save him. At 2 a.m., she sat at her kitchen table staring at an animal shelter website. Hope for the hopeless. We take the ones nobody wants. Photos of three-legged dogs, blind mutts, scarred pit bulls the world called damaged goods glowed on her screen. Her hands trembled as she printed them, tears spotting the paper because maybe, if her son couldn't see himself as whole, he could see worth in something else the world had written off. She had no idea she was about to introduce her dying boy to the only creature who could teach him how to live. Charlie's body slammed against Kennel 14's back while the second he heard footsteps. 3 legs scrambling, claws scraping concrete, amber eyes wide with the kind of terror that comes from knowing exactly what hands can do. 6 weeks in this shelter, and the pit bull still pissed himself when humans got close, still carried every cigarette burn and rope scar like a roadmap of betrayal. They'd found him chained behind a meth house, his left front leg rotting from infection, abandoned in January cold by an owner who never came back. The amputation saved his life, but it was his eyes that made families recoil. Eyes that flinched at every raised hand, that remembered every kick, every curse, every moment that taught him humans meant pain. Maria was the only person who could get within 3 feet without triggering full panic. She'd watched 14 families walk past his kennel that month, heard mothers yank children away with whispered warnings. He's dangerous. He's been abused. And Maria wanted to scream that Charlie wasn't dangerous. He was terrified. Bone deep, soul-destroying terrified that the next hand would be the one that finally killed him. He had 2 weeks left before behavioral issues became unadoptable in official paperwork, before the kennel's capacity problem made him a statistic. When the phone rang Wednesday morning, a mother's breaking voice describing her wheelchair-bound son who'd stopped believing his life had value. Maria's eyes locked on Kennel 14, where Charlie trembled in shadows. Something ancient stirred in her chest, the feeling that some meetings aren't coincidence but destiny. She whispered into the phone, her voice cracking. I have a dog. He's been hurt so badly he doesn't remember what love feels like. The silence stretched like prayer. Then, when can we meet him? And Maria knew. Charlie's nightmare was about to meet Ethan's wheelchair, and neither had any idea their brokenness was the exact shape each other needed. Ethan's wheelchair squeaked through the shelter's back corridor Thursday afternoon, past kennels of barking pit bulls and Rottweilers. All the faces nobody wanted, all the souls warehoused and waiting to be erased. His head hung forward because looking up meant hoping, and hope was the cruelest thing his body had taught him to abandon. When Maria stopped at Kennel 14, Ethan kept his eyes down, fixed on legs that looked more like sticks every day. But when she whispered, "He's in the back corner. He's given up," something made Ethan's head rise. Through chain link in the shadows, he saw the shape. 3 legs, visible ribs, amber eyes drowning in terror he recognized like a mirror. The dog pressed against concrete trying to disappear, and Ethan understood with burning clarity. He was staring at himself. Time stopped. Then Ethan's hand lifted with agonizing slowness, each millimeter a war against dying muscles, and pressed flat against the cold chain link. Not reaching for, just reaching, being present in his brokenness, offering it like a gift instead of shame. And Charlie's trembling, that never-ending shake, stopped. His amber eyes locked onto that small hand, and something flickered, recognition. Not of a person, but of feeling. The feeling of being seen not despite wounds, but through them. Maria unlocked the kennel with shaking hands, and Ethan whispered, "I need to go in." His mother's protests died when she saw her son's eyes alive again for the first time in months. The wheelchair inched forward, rubber squeaking, and Charlie coiled tighter, preparing for pain, for violence, for the inevitable betrayal. But Ethan stopped 3 feet away and waited, his body spasming, his chest heaving. "I know you're scared," he said, voice barely prayer. "I'm scared too. Every day. My body's breaking, and everyone looks at me like I'm already dead." Tears tracked down his face. "But you're not dead. And I'm not dead. Not yet." His trembling hand extended, palm up, empty, offering nothing but presence. And Charlie, sweet God. Charlie's remaining front leg stretched forward. One hop toward the boy whose legs didn't work. When their eyes met, amber to brown, broken to broken, the universe inhaled. This wasn't a meeting. This was resurrection. Charlie stopped 3 inches from Ethan's trembling hand. Close enough the boy could feel heat from scarred fur, smell medicated shampoo on wounds, see every shake rippling through 3 legs like electrical terror. The dog's pupils were blown black, his breathing rapid fog in cold air, and Ethan's arm screamed from holding position, but he'd rather collapse than pull away now. Behind him, his mother stopped breathing, mascara streaming, because she was watching her dying son offer love to something as broken as himself. Then Charlie's nose touched Ethan's palm. Just the tip. Just a heartbeat. The contact sent shockwaves through both, dog flinching backward, boy gasping, both trembling in perfect synchronization. Charlie's eyes went wild, scanning for threats, body coiling to bolt. But Ethan's voice cut through. "Please. Please don't go." The desperation in those words made Charlie freeze because he knew that sound. He'd made it himself, howling in darkness for someone to come back, to see him, to choose him before cold finished what humans started. The boy's hand was still there, still open, still offering what Charlie thought didn't exist. A second chance to believe touch didn't mean violence. His nose pressed harder, and when Ethan's fingers curled to stroke him, Charlie's eyes closed. A sound came from deep in his chest that wasn't growl or whimper, but something else, surrender. Ethan's other hand found Charlie's scarred head, fingers sinking into matted fur, tracing rope burns and cigarette scars like braille spelling human cruelty. And Ethan wept, openly ugly, sobs trapped since diagnosis flooding out. "They hurt you so bad and you're still here. You're still trying." Charlie's body melted against the wheelchair, his 3 legs giving out, collapsing into the boy's lap like confession. Ethan's dying arms wrapped around the 3-legged dog, and held on like Charlie was the only thing keeping him tethered to earth. When he finally whispered, "Can he come home with us?" his voice was barely sound. But Charlie heard it, and for the first time in his traumatized life, his tail moved. Just once. Just barely. But it moved. 3 months later, the neighborhood kids stopped their bikes outside Ethan's house not to whisper, but to stare in wonder. In the front yard, a boy in a wheelchair threw a tennis ball with his one working arm, while a 3-legged pit bull hopped across grass with a speed that defied physics and a joy that defied his history. Charlie had gained 20 pounds, his ribs no longer visible, his coat glossy from constant brushing by hands that trembled but never stopped trying. And Ethan, God Ethan, his mother watched from the porch as her son laughed, actually laughed, the sound she thought she'd never hear again. The disease was still there, still stealing him piece by piece, but something else had taken root. Purpose. The physical therapist couldn't explain it. Ethan's decline had slowed. Not stopped, never stopped, but slowed. Because every morning he woke up with a 3-legged dog sprawled across his chest, amber eyes watching him with devotion so pure it hurt. Because he had to get up to feed Charlie, to brush him, to practice walking exercises while Charlie hopped beside him like they were in this together. The doctors called it improved quality of life. His mother called it a miracle. But Ethan knew the truth. Charlie hadn't just become his dog. Charlie had become his reason to fight. On a Saturday in June, Ethan's wheelchair rolled into that same shelter with Charlie on a leash, and Maria dropped her clipboard when she saw them. The boy who could barely lift his head was sitting straighter, eyes bright, introducing Charlie to other broken dogs with a confidence that radiated. He looked at Maria with tears in his eyes. He saved me. Now I want to help save others. And Maria understood, this wasn't an ending. This was a beginning. Two souls written off by the world had found each other in darkness and chosen light. Together, they were teaching everyone who ever laughed at them that broken doesn't mean finished. It means you know exactly how strong you have to be to keep going. And sometimes the ones labeled damaged are the ones who understand best. We're all just looking for someone who sees our scars and says, "Me too. Let's heal together." 6 months after that Thursday afternoon in the shelter, Ethan's wheelchair rolled through his neighborhood with Charlie hopping beside him. 3 legs moving in perfect rhythm, amber eyes bright, tail wagging at every child who stopped to pet him. The disease was still there, still stealing Ethan's strength, but something else had taken root. The unshakable certainty that his life mattered because he'd given meaning to someone else's. They'd become ambassadors at the shelter, visiting every weekend, showing other families that broken doesn't mean worthless. It means you've survived something that tried to destroy you and chose to keep loving anyway. How many wounded souls are you passing by right now? How many hearts labeled too damaged are waiting for just one person to see past the scars? Maybe you're the second chance someone's been praying for. Maybe there's a love waiting to heal you too. You just have to be brave enough to reach across the darkness. If this story cracked your heart open, subscribe and turn on notifications. Every day we bring you real stories that prove that love, imperfect love, unconditional love, and even messy love, is the only force powerful enough to transform what is broken into something beautiful.